Hello, friends. I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic. Everything here is good. Um, I think it's no surprise to you that I live in a rural area, a small area, a small town area of West Virginia. I mean, I've got a West Virginia license plate right there. I've lived here pretty much my whole life. I guess we're not technically rural. This would be considered suburban. The city that's closest to me is about 18,000 people. I think by most people's standards, that would be considered small town USA. It is, but it's also not. Like, 18,000 people is enough that when I go out, I'm not constantly running into people that I know. But it's pretty rural. It's rural enough that every morning I wake up and I run into the same deer that I run into, every day. And this morning I woke up and there was 13 doe standing in, not my backyard, my neighbor's backyard. They go through my backyard. That same herd, I see it all year round. Sometimes there's two herds that size that are crossing path here. And it's an issue. It's a problem. In fact, I was talking to a friend of mine about it this morning. I have one friend who lives in Denmark who says they never see deer. Deer aren't really a thing. And then I have another friend who lives in Poland, and they have deer, roe deer, which are small deer. They're much smaller than the whitetails we have here. But they're not a problem. He said their boar are a big problem. There's boar everywhere. And I have seen that. I've seen videos of German boar herds being gunned down because they're out of control. Deer are kind of out of control here. And so not too long ago we talked about me growing up hunting and fishing and how hunting and fishing was a part of life in West Virginia. It definitely was when I was a kid. And when I was a kid, on like the opening day of hunting season, all over the state, you would just hear gunshots all day long, right? You don't really hear that much anymore, and I don't remember exactly, but when I was a kid, like the '80s, when I started hunting, I want to say there was a yearly limit of like 6 deer. If you bought your hunting license and all of the stamps that you could buy, you could maybe get 6 deer a season. And now I think it's at least doubled. It was 12 the last time I hunted. If you bought everything, it might even be 13 or 14 now, because there's just not as many people hunting, and that might sound like a ridiculous issue. Like, well, okay, but it is a problem. The deer are everywhere, and there are so many accidents in this area from deer, and we don't have. We don't have enough crop, like, massed forest to support the herds. Like, they're huge. It's a big issue. And so I was curious, I talked to my Polish friend today, and he told me about the boar. My Denmark friend, I don't know if they have any, like, problem animals up there. But it made me really think, like, is it that same way across the U.S.? Are deer an issue everywhere? Like, what are the people, like, out west, where there's, where it's really rural America, where there's just farmland that, your closest neighbor is a mile away. Are deer a big issue there? I'm assume so, but I also, maybe you don't drive enough to really encounter them, or they have plenty of free space to walk around without crossing interstate highways. Here, my kid has hit a deer twice already. She's only been driving for a year and a half. I've never hit one. I've come very, very, very close on both my motorcycle and my car. But I've luckily never had a deer strike. But they are super common. Super, super common. I think I saw somewhere that like more than half of vehicular accidents in this state are caused by animals, by deer. But I don't know if that's true. But I'm curious. So, like, if you go to California, is there some wild animal that gets in everybody's way in California? I've never really heard of you know, deer in California. I know that in Northern California, there's lots of bear and deer and that sort of stuff. Black bears. We have black bears here too, but you don't hit black bears in your car. Nobody. I don't know that I've ever heard of that happening. Like they don't normally go near the highway. Here we have a lot of deer. When you go drive down the road here, you will see squirrel dead on the side of the road. Squirrel, possum, deer, skunk, raccoon. We have a lot of vehicle hits. Turkey. I've actually seen turkeys get hit. Very uncommon, but it happens. We do have some pretty big flocks of wild turkeys, especially west of me. There's a pretty big area of just field and farmland, you know, hundreds of acres, and there's a lot of turkey over there. But yeah, I don't know. I'm curious. Like, is there a problem animal in your area, wherever that is? You know, whether it's snakes or alligators or like I don't know. We have displaced so much of the planet that it seems like there's got to be something in every area. You know. I guess if you're in Australia, everything is a problem animal because they're all trying to kill you. But here, it's mostly just deer. And we don't really have a large enough population of hunters these days to manage the herd, to keep it under control. It's sad that we need to. You know, I mean, prior to our intervention, that wasn't really a concern or a problem. They kind of, kind of all took care of itself. But just curious. Let me know in the comments. You know, yes or no, and what kind of animal. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Also, I guess human class is qualifies as being a problem animal. Today's word you should know to sound smart is postulate. It is a verb meaning to arrive at a theory, belief, hypothesis, or principle based upon an analysis of known facts. The primacy of human personality has been a postulate both of Christianity and of liberal democracy. Julian Huxley, English evolutionary biologist. Postulate. Postulate. I always like to call it swag. That would be a scientific wild ass guess.